I'll come in with a bunch of investment bankers on the 7:40 a.m. train into the city, and they are wired on Adderall, Perks, Xanny, Percocet, Miley Cyrus.
Being serious?
Dead serious.
Wow. Okay.
Then they come in, get to Grand Central, then they go to their job on Wall Street to blow up our economy in the next 2 to 4 years. So
Okay.
they are literally bringing in drugs and participating in crime.
Yeah.
We don't frame them that way.
Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes won her 2022 election by just 280 votes, which actually kind of makes sense because her state has strong political forces pulling it both right and left. It is the Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits between two 18-wheelers of states. On the one hand, Arizona currently has a Democratic governor, 2 Democratic senators, and an openly gay Attorney General, Kris Mayes. But on the other hand, it's Arizona. What are we talking about here? It is a state full of people who both own a gun and a bumper sticker threatening to use it. And that right-left conflict has even played itself out in Kris Mayes herself when she switched from Republican to Democrat in 2019, becoming the only person in Arizona history to be elected statewide in both parties. So I sat down with the general to learn more about why she changed teams, what she thinks about the growing threat of violence toward politicians, and what her answer is to the central question behind every immigration debate. How many do we let in?
Hurry right away, no delay, stop today. Make your daddy glad you have had such a lad.
Here's what I know about Arizona. Number 1, John McCain was a senator there.
Yep.
Okay. Number 2, Mark Kelly, the astronaut, took his place. I'm aware of that. And then number 3, the Twitter account at AZGOP is completely unhinged.
Yes. True.
Here is a tweet from 2022. This is at AZGOP. They tweeted, "The mainstream media is domestic terrorists." Only 54 retweets. Now, a couple things that I'm noticing here is I think it's the mainstream media are domestic terrorists. That's one.
Good point.
And
Grammar might not be their strong suit.
Right? You
Yeah.
obviously passed the bar. You went to law school. Now, do you capitalize domestic terrorists like they're ISIS?
No. I would say no.
You go lowercase dt.
I'd say go, yeah, exactly.
Okay. In 2020, they asked supporters if they were willing to die to help fight to overturn the election results. Let's take a look at
Wow.
that. Ali goes, "I am willing to give my life for this fight."
Yes.
At AZGOP, he is. Are you?
Wow.
What's going on there?
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I don't know if you know, I used to be a Republican. So I served at the same time that John McCain did. I knew John McCain, and this is not John McCain's Republican Party anymore, and it's not Kris Mayes' Republican Party anymore either. It's why I left. What's going on there? It has been completely hijacked by MAGA and by the far right wing and by what feels very cultish to me, to be honest with you, and it's why I left in 2019.
Here's an Arizona story that I think connects in a very interesting way to our politics today. In 2011, Gabby Giffords, there was an assassination attempt on her. That she was shot in the head. This sparked a national conversation in the United States of America. I remember I had recently graduated from college, but there was this big discourse about the idea of, hey, all this violent political rhetoric, we got to tone it down.
Yep.
Okay? 14 years later, do you feel like this sort of violent political rhetoric has now become the norm? At White House, the Twitter account is essentially now at AZGOP, if not crazier.
Yeah. No, I think it has become the norm, and that's really sad. And I don't think it has let up at all. And, you know, all of that, you could even draw a line, I think, is onto January 6th and what happened on January 6th, right? And I was in Arizona when Gabby was shot. She's a friend of mine. I served with her. I was a corporation commissioner, a public utility commissioner, worked with her on solar energy issues. That was a crushing day for my state, for her. And so you look at that language, and it still is in our politics, primarily on the other side, unfortunately.
I mean, Donald Trump said something about Liz Cheney at a rally in your state, Arizona, that many people interpreted as a death threat.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
She's a radical war hawk Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Okay. You went on to then launch an investigation to find out if you could prosecute that as a
Death threat.
How'd that go?
I did, and I was criticized for that, for saying that I thought that we should at least look at it as a death threat, because you look at what he just said,
right?
Which was extremely violent and at a minimum horrific for any political leader to use that kind of language. And remember, as you know, that was right before the election,
right? So this is right before the November 2024 election.
Right before the November 2024 election, Liz Cheney was out there talking about the need to preserve democracy, supporting Kamala Harris, and he comes to Arizona and says those things as if he doesn't know what he's saying. And so I said, yeah, I think that I asked my criminal division chief to take a look at whether that constituted a death threat or a violation of any statute in Arizona. Because one of the things that, as the Attorney General of Arizona, I have said is we are not going to tolerate death threats against any elected official, any elections official, because that has been a problem in my state and in other states where people are essentially threatening elections officials. So much so that some of our elections officials, 2/3 of our elections directors or a top election official in our counties, Hasan, in the last election cycle, resigned. We lost them because they didn't want to put up with that kind of thing. I mean, if you're an average person and you're an election director, and we have fantastic elections directors, why are you going to put up with that? We had one county election director who had her dog poisoned to death in Arizona. Correct. Just because she stood up for the rule of law.
What is the critique that you're getting when people say, why are you trying to prosecute the president? What's the critique? What is their core argument here?
I mean, the core argument, and I actually had this conversation with a gentleman recently in Yuma who came out to one of my town halls. I've now had 11 town halls on the litigation that we're doing.
Okay.
And he was MAGA, you know, and I let anyone come to our town halls. MAGA,
sure. I mean,
people who
it is a
support
town
me.
hall.
It's a town hall.
Yeah, anyone can come.
The Republicans don't, by the way. They check people's voter registration cards, believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they will not let you in if you're a Democrat. But so I had this conversation, and you know, his point was that Donald Trump won the election in Arizona. He did. He you know,
correct.
We don't deny that.
Yeah, no, the state voted for Donald Trump.
The state voted for Donald Trump. I don't think they actually voted for this insanity that we're seeing now. They didn't vote for Donald Trump to shred the Constitution, which is happening over and over again. But they did vote for him. So his point was, Kris Mayes, you should not be suing him because we voted for him, and this is what we voted for. My response to that, Hasan, is I'm the top law enforcement officer of the state of Arizona. It's my job. I took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution and the laws of this country. And when the president, whoever that is, if that's a Democrat or a Republican, I am going to file a lawsuit to try to stop him or her from violating the Constitution.
How do you convince those people that you're not being needlessly punitive over petty grievances?
So I think there's two ways that you deal with that. Number one, I have not joined every single lawsuit. So if I don't believe that you know, the state, that there's damage to the state of Arizona, or if I don't believe that it's the right lawsuit for Arizona, I don't join it. And there's been 3 that I haven't joined. And then secondarily, this is not all I'm doing. I mean, sometimes it feels like it because we talk about these lawsuits and we are in an existential moment. And I have been very forward-leaning in my language. I have called this a coup, an attempted coup on our country by Donald Trump. When you have a president who violates a federal court order on multiple occasions, including in our cases, that is an attempted coup because it's never happened in our country before where a president, you saw it yesterday from the White House, where the president's spokesperson started attacking judges again. What is that? Absolutely no respect for the three branches of government. But what you do is you also do the other work of the Attorney General's office. It is critical work, fighting the fentanyl crisis, protecting consumers, protecting our elderly, etc.
What do you say to someone like me who just feels the current judicial system is so analog in nature, and Donald Trump is so digitally insane that the analog nature of the judicial process will never catch him? He's never going to get perp walked. He will exit the office, maybe run for a third time, or, like most presidents, start a podcast or get into painting. But there is no perp walk. There is no, you were saying you have a 12-year-old. I bet they're begging for the day they see the golden handcuffs and he gets Puff Daddy perp walked out of a New York hotel. It's never happening to a president.
Yeah.
What do you say to that part of me that says that?
That says
Because I really feel that. You obviously passed the bar. I never went to law school. So you tell me how this is possible or not possible.
Well, first of all, I would say we would be very fortunate if Donald Trump ended up painting or doing a podcast. I would prefer
Sure.
that over the constant violations of the Constitution. We had a very terrible thing happen, as you know, when the United States Supreme Court passed its decision that essentially gave him immunity for all official acts. And then we had a situation prior to the election where he obviously was not held accountable, or, he had the convictions against him here in New York, but then it was too late for there to be any accountability or even any sentence levied there. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, except that I'm focused on getting us upholding the rule of law now while he's in office, and making sure that we protect Arizona consumers, protect Arizonans, and uphold the Constitution.
I want to kind of connect the dots here, because we're talking about, you're obviously talking about a coup of the government. We obviously had January 6th. We've mentioned your colleague, Gabby Giffords.
Yeah.
And most recently, the attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump himself.
Yeah.
Do you feel in 2025 that we're on a razor's edge to almost feeling the way America felt in 1968 with the assassination of RFK, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., where kind of political violence became the norm?
Yeah. I worry about that, candidly, and I know that my colleagues, Democratic AGs, worry about that as well. It feels it feels very unstable right now. One of the reasons that we're doing these town halls, and I've done so many of them, and actually the AGs have done them together. So we've done them together in Minnesota, in Oregon, in Arizona, and in New York. Here, Tish James did one, and in New England. Is that we feel it's really important to get out there and talk to people and hear from people directly about this, including Republicans. I think we have to be talking to each other, and we have to come back together around core concepts and commonly agreed upon concepts like our Constitution and the three branches of government. And I think that's why so many people have been coming out to these town halls. And then you see what's going on with the protests. I think the American public is way ahead of politicians right now on this issue. And there's so much frustration out there right now about what's happening in Washington, D.C., both out of the White House, but also sort of a feeling of inaction by Congress as well to protect its own prerogatives. I mean, why is it that the Democratic AGs are the one filing all these lawsuits to protect the separation of powers, to enforce the separation of powers? Why are we the ones fighting against the tariffs when Congress is the one that should step up and can step up and tell the president, no, you don't have the authority to crush our entire economy by using IEPA, a statute that was never meant for tariffs?
So what do you think their calculation behind the political cowardice is then in that sense?
I think there are far too many consultants whispering in their ears saying, just don't do anything right now.
So Arizona is now a purple swing state.
Yes.
But that's a recent thing.
Yes.
Usually the state votes for a Republican president, but has also had a Democratic governor, 2 Democrat senators. What do you think
Democratic
caused,
AG.
and a Democratic AG? What
Yep.
do you think caused that shift? Do you think it was Donald Trump?
Gosh, that is a great question. I think that I actually think that it has more, well, 2 things. Number one, we are seeing incredible migration into Arizona from California, from New York, from a lot of the Rust Belt states, and that migration is very diverse. I mean, politically very diverse, and we're getting, so it's turning us purple. Same thing happened in Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico. It's even going to happen in Texas eventually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these migration patterns down into the Southwest where people actually want to live.
You keep saying migration. This is going to terrify people on Fox News. You understand the way you're saying it, like a weather pattern?
They think
No. Already, what you're implying is it's very scary for them.
for them it'll scare them.
Well, what's
yes.
interesting is that General.
Yes.
You are a human swing state.
Yeah.
I mean,
I am personification of that.
you
yes.
won a statewide election in Arizona as a Republican, and
Yes.
then later as a Democrat.
Yes. I think I'm the only person in Arizona history who's won statewide office as both a Republican and a Democrat.
But for you personally, General, was it Donald Trump that shifted you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did. And I literally can remember the place that I was when I decided to switch parties and what I was doing. So it was when he started putting kids in cages down on the border during Trump 1.0. And that was it. I couldn't do it anymore. And then, of course, January 6th happened. And that's when I decided to run for office because I believed that our democracy was at risk. And then, of course, Dobbs overturned Roe versus Wade. And,
right.
But the other thing I would say on Arizona going purple is that it's the change in demographics, but also to some degree the Republicans are putting up insane candidates, Hasan, like nutter candidates, right? Kerry Lake, the guy I ran against, Abe Hamaday. Mark Fincham. These guys are just not who moderate Republicans and independent voters want to see. And I believe that those same moderate voters do not believe that what Donald Trump is doing right now is for them. They don't like chaos. They believe in the rule of law. They don't like tariffs. They don't like their small businesses being demolished by tariffs. And so I think we're going to have a pretty good year in 2026.
I mean, well, in 2022, just to throw this out there, you only won your election by 280 votes.
They don't call me Landslide Mays for nothing.
Okay.
That's true. Closest state right race in Arizona
All
history.
I'm saying is we're having this meeting in a building in Manhattan. There's more than 280 people in this building. So are you sure you don't want to switch back?
No, I'm happy where I am,
Right.
and I love that I actually love that it was a narrow margin, and quite frankly, it's emblematic of how I think elections in a lot of swing states like Arizona are going to continue to be. We're a 50-50 state.
Transitions us to the next big topic, which you have incredible insight on, which is the topic of immigration. One issue that puts Arizona at the center of all national discourse, it's immigration.
Yes.
And Arizona's perception on the national stage when it comes to immigration laws is that it notoriously has very tough immigration laws.
Yes.
But at the same time, this current administration at the presidential level is being very tough when it comes to immigration law. Do you think the United States of America is just becoming one big Arizona?
I think that so here's what I would say about our law enforcement in Arizona is that number one, we did have and I think to a lesser degree now because it's coming under control. We had an immigration crisis. We had, and Joe Biden, toward the end of his tenure, had started to get it under control. And then the A grade that I would give to Donald Trump is that he continued that and is clamping down on immigration flow across the border. And here's why that immigration flow, if it's uncontrolled, is really terrible. It's because, yes, we don't know exactly who is coming across the border when you have that kind of uncontrolled immigration. And number two, our Border Patrol are then sidelined from doing their real job, which is going after the fentanyl crisis. So we want to catch the drugs that are killing Americans from coming across the border. And so now, hopefully, Border Patrol will be focused on that. It doesn't seem like that's where this administration is going. Unfortunately, it seems like they're more focused on kicking people out who aren't actually criminals. I'm fine with them kicking people out and deporting people who are criminals. Great, fine. I think we all agree on that. But now it seems like they want to distract local law enforcement and immigration or Border Patrol from dealing with our fentanyl crisis, and they want to just put everybody on immigration enforcement and especially deportations.
So this sounds really interesting, General Mays. There's a fissure between what you feel your position on immigration is and what is happening at the federal level.
Yeah,
Here's
a little bit.
I'd love your analysis on what the delta is here. Your governor, Katie Hobbs, recently vetoed a Republican-backed bill that would have required Arizona police to cooperate with ICE.
Yep.
Can you expand on what happened there and how much delta is there between what Hobbs's position was and what the Trump administration's position is on this issue in regards to cooperating with ICE?
Yeah, so I think what she did kind of gets to what I was saying, which is, and when you talk privately with local law enforcement, they do not want to be forced to cooperate with ICE. Why? Because they're already slammed with the job that they are tasked with doing, which is fighting crime. They already don't have enough police officers, Hasan. They already are dealing with violent crimes, and that is what Arizonans want them focused on. And now they're being asked by the federal government and some legislators in states to divert their attention from crime and fighting crime and fighting the fentanyl crisis. Now they've got to go out and arrest some 18-year-old kid on a college campus who, is here on a visa. Really? I mean, when you ask local law enforcement whether they want to be doing that, they will privately and sometimes publicly say, no, thank you.
Oh, you're talking about the Khalil Mahmoud case over here in Colombia.
That one, or in Arizona, we have kids who've been kicked out on their visas. We have people who are being arrested outside of courts after they came to the court because they were following procedure, and then they're just sort of deported. And that's the kind of stuff that they want to divert law enforcement to go do more of. And I don't think law enforcement wants to do that. I think law enforcement wants to be law enforcement. And that's what I'm worried about, is this encroaching attempt, this attempt by the Trump administration to federalize local law enforcement. And I think that when that happens, we're gonna have a problem.
So how should Democrats reframe this conversation around immigration?
Look, what we should be saying is that right now, our number one crisis in this country is fighting the Mexican drug cartels, fighting the fentanyl crisis. We mostly have gotten the immigration crisis under control, and it's about fighting the Mexican drug cartels. That is why I passed a bill along with Republicans to give our local sheriffs and law enforcement agencies the ability to shoot Mexican drug cartel drones out of the sky, which is something we need to be able to do on the border, because literally they are flying drones upwards of 30 and 40 miles inside of Arizona, dropping their fentanyl payload into our state. those are the kinds of things that we do need to be focused on. So we passed a bill to let them shoot them out of the sky or take them down with drone jammers.
You know what's interesting? For me as a voter, I've always felt when it comes to immigration, both parties kind of have the same position. Because when I watch Republican candidates, they'll put on the cap and the flak jacket. And they'll go down to the southern border and they're like, I'm here, it'll be like a Robert Rodriguez movie. They're like, I'm here to catch, bad guys on horseback and people that are crossing the Rio Grande, and they got drugs and they got weapons, and I'm here to fight them.
Yeah.
It feels like both parties are articulating that same point. We need to stop the fentanyl and we need to stop the drugs from coming in. But it just sounds like the Democratic Party just says it nicer.
It's possible. Yeah.
Right, because the Republicans, they have kids in cages, but then a Democrat will just go, they're just children in cubicles.
Yeah, I suppose.
We give them blankets, but this is all, and this as someone who's an attorney, this is all just word semantics.
Yeah, although I will say, the separation policies, I think those are real differences between the parties.
Can you be specific? Yeah, tell me what are those specific things that are beyond just semantics?
Well, again, separating parents from their kids. That's something Trump did in his first administration, and maybe doing now. We're not really sure what's going on. Some of this they've gotten smarter about because they're essentially doing it.
And the Biden administration did not do this. The Obama administration did not do this.
Obama deported a lot of people. Actually, I believe Obama's deportation numbers might have been higher than Trump's, interestingly enough. But yeah, did not separate families, and I think that's the kind of cruelty that all Americans don't want to see. And the other thing that I think is interesting that we're starting to see is, the Trump administration is starting to grab people who've been in communities and deport them, who've been in communities for 20 years. So, the soccer mom in the Deep South who is being deported, and the community, I can't remember what state it was, but the community is just deeply upset because they all know her. And she has been in the community, and she has been a fruitful part of the community for many, many years. The same kinds of things are happening in Arizona. I think the other thing, Hasan, that people are bothered by increasingly is the weird way that Trump is going about this with having the ICE people with their ski masks on up to here and unmarked gear. None of my law enforcement officers ever go out looking like that.
Oh, you're talking about kind of like vigilante style.
Yeah, it's
like
super weird.
It's carjacking.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's super weird for law enforcement. Law enforcement doesn't do that. And yet they've got ICE folks, and sometimes I wonder how they feel about that, but it's really weird. It's not real law enforcement. When you talk, and I work with law enforcement every day, and when you talk to law enforcement, they're like, that's just weird.
But what particularly is weird about it?
Not identifying yourself.
Okay.
If you're not willing, if you're wearing a ski mask, nobody wears ski masks. If you're not wearing, identification, our identification is Attorney General office, or DEA agents, unless you're undercover.
Yeah.
Unless you're undercover.
Or like a TV show, FBI. You can clearly see it. It's on the back of the jacket and on the bulletproof
vest. Kind of proud of it.
Okay,
actually.
got it. Okay.
Kind of proud of it.
And that's important because why?
Because I think it goes to people's trust.
Okay.
It goes to trust, and it goes to a sense that we are living in a different kind of country.
How would you feel if you found out that you've been having the fake version of something your entire life? Outraged? Angry? Well, get ready to get mad, because every cup of chai that you've bought at some chain coffee shop here in America is fake. It's packed with tons of sugar and artificial flavors that are horrible for your health. And for some reason, they keep spelling my name wrong. But it doesn't have to be that way. Kolkata chai is changing all of that. 0 sugar and natural ingredients that you can actually pronounce. Organic black tea, cardamom, black pepper, fresh cinnamon. It's the boldest cup of chai you can find with their unique range of chai blends and concentrates. And you don't have to stand in line for it for hours. You can make it at home in minutes. It's the only chai that's allowed in the Minhaj household. All other chais are forbidden. Head to kolkatachai.co/Hasan to grab your first cup and 2 free gifts on me.
You were describing the soccer mom. And then a little bit earlier, you're talking about the drones bringing in fentanyl. Mm-hmm. It seems like there's 2 stories when it comes to immigration. One is a humanistic story. Hey, these are members of our community. These are people that are contributing to our GDP and our economy. Mm-hmm. This is literally a soccer mom.
Yeah.
And then the other frames immigration as this anti-criminal enterprise. How should immigration be framed? Because it's somehow being mixed as these 2 things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a great question. And I think it kind of goes to, well, and then you can go to dreamers, right? I mean, one of the things that I've said is, we are not going to put up with Donald Trump or anybody, deporting dreamers. I have dreamers who work for me. They have been here most of their lives. Most Americans agree on that concept. But I just think that, look, I think you have to be able to kind of look at it in this sort of dual tracked way. We must have secure borders. And that is because when you don't have a secure border, you don't know what's coming across the border. And that increasingly with the Mexican drug cartels operating in northern Mexico, in some cases having operational control, that is dangerous, and they are bringing dangerous drugs into our country.
But doesn't border security, just that term, and Democrats use that often, doesn't that already imply that immigrants are kind of dangerous? It's almost like when you hear
it's interesting.
Boston racist. It's those 2
yeah.
inner city crime. Like you've seen this before.
Yeah.
It's saying the quiet part.
I don't know.
It's letting you say the quiet part in your head. You're setting it up that way.
Say it again. Say it one more time. What did you just say?
When a politician says there's a lot of crime in the inner city,
yeah,
people are already painting the picture on what they see.
Yeah.
It creates an implicit bias. Whereas if you see immigration fundamentally as a bureaucratic process, it's upload your PDF, go through the process. When I see a Bengali guy land at JFK, I go, this guy may want to go work at Amazon Cloud Services and IT.
Yeah.
This isn't an existential threat on American democracy or safety.
Right.
Or someone crossing the southern border coming in as a dreamer. They want to go work at Kroger's.
They do. Yeah.
This person wants to work at Kroger's.
Let me take this into Arizona. So when you talk to our resort industry, when you talk to our farmers, when you talk to many businesses in Arizona, they will tell you without immigrant labor, we will not survive as a state. We will have a literal labor shortage.
Yeah.
So if Donald Trump actually does try to deport 15 million people from this country, it is going to, along with the tariffs, crater our economy, especially in states like Arizona, where immigrant labor is incredibly important. So I think from that standpoint, we do have to find a way to talk about this, in 2 different ways. Do I think that we have a problem with the drug cartels bringing fentanyl into the United States? Yes. Do I think that when you have uncontrolled immigration, it diverts attention away from our ability to go after the drug cartels? I also think that is true. Yeah. So these things can be both true.
What's interesting is the way this is framed, we will see the way politicians and public officials use rhetoric to shape an immigration policy. That's going to happen over the next few years.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting, General Mays, and I'd love you to articulate this, these are all symptoms of a larger question, which is, how many do we let in?
Yeah,
The United States of America is one of the world's most popular nightclubs. It's like Tao in Vegas when it just opened up, and there's going to be everybody there. Pitbull's going to be there. Some dudes you went to college are going to be there. For sure, a U.S. senator will be there. But the question remains the same. As you enter the door, how many do you let in? General Mays, how many do you let in?
Boy, I wish I could answer that question, because immigration policy is not necessarily my forte, but it is something that Congress probably needs to get a handle on. We need to make a decision about that. We need to make a decision about visas, and the visas that we are going to support or aren't going to support. But that's sort of, I think, at a decision at a federal level.
One of the things that you've talked about repeatedly in this chat is the idea that, hey, we need to stop the cartels from bringing drugs in.
Yeah.
How bad is that, and what type of drugs are we talking about here?
It's really bad, and it's making its way here. So, we have traced, I'll give you an example of this. We have traced the drugs that are coming across our border. And it's interesting, but in the last 3 years, more than 50% of all the fentanyl seized in the United States was seized in Arizona in the last 3 years. And that's just what we were able to seize. But it is then making its way all the way across the country to here, right here in New York City. In fact, I have seen through the various investigative tools that we have watched the drugs being transported all the way across the country to a drop point in New York City on multiple occasions.
Well, what's interesting,
and Connecticut, and it is both fentanyl and meth now.
Well, what's interesting is that I'm not trying to brag, but I do take the MTA North, and I do pay for the peak price for MTA North, and I'll come in with a bunch of investment bankers on the 7:40 a.m. train into the city, and they are wired on Adderall, Perks, Xanny, Percocet, Miley Cyrus.
Being serious?
Dead serious.
Wow. Okay.
Then they come in, get to Grand Central, then they go to their job on Wall Street to blow up our economy in the next 2 to 4 years. So
Okay.
they are literally bringing in drugs and participating in crime.
Yeah.
We don't frame them that way.
No, it's interesting. We don't. Although we do fight those kinds of drugs. I mean, like you're talking about Xanax and Percocet and some of these other things that are that may or may not be prescription, might be illegal. More and more of the Xanax, for instance, being trafficked into the United States, and too often laced with fentanyl.
I mean, well, General Mays, I'll tell you this. When you asked, are they really on it? The way some of these guys look at me without blinking, they're on something.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. And you're right. It's a disparity in the way we frame it and probably the way we enforce it.
Final question for you as a parent. What do you set your thermostat at?
73.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
As a parent, I mean, that's just where I'm comfortable.
No,
How about you?
My dad, he shuts it completely off, and he's like, do not touch it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Here? Air conditioning here is
I
a
grew
little
up in
different.
Sacramento, which
Okay.
which is Phoenix light.
It is. Fair.
But
fair.
his whole thing was, I am not paying for this. Don't you dare touch this. He made me think that the thermostat,
Yeah.
that was his Oppenheimer. Those were his nuclear codes. You touch this, bad things will happen.
Not that strict in my house.
So we would, double up on the fleeces in the winter.
Yes.
And then just Hanes tank tops and basketball shorts in the summer.
No, we're very loose with our AC in Arizona, because you gotta be. It's hot outside. So
now I just do 68 or 69 out of spite.
okay, that's a little cold. See, really, out of spite, because you're reacting to your childhood.
I am responding to childhood trauma.
Yeah, I gotcha. Fair.
Listen, General Mays, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Hurry right